history topic. And see students, here we are talking about the topic that is totally new to you. See students, here you can see that we have two different pictures highlighted in front of you, and you can see that this is the first picture that we have, and this is the second picture, and this is the third picture. Students, during this time when the industrialization was not there and people were growing and producing, manufacturing different goods at the scattered units, during this time much of the industrialization has not taken place. How the industrialization came up, how the different industries came up, and how the production has started under a roof. All these things we are going to study in this chapter, the age of industrialization. The age of industrialization. Student, you know that during earlier time there were small karkhanas, small factories were there, and cottage industries, household industries were there, and people used to produce for themselves as well as for the rest of the community. So students, here you can see the first picture, the dawn of the century. This is the beginning. You can see that DAWN, when the sun rises early in the morning, that situation is dawn. So it is the beginning of the new century, it is the beginning of the new era, and you can see that here we have an angel kind of a male figurine is highlighted, and you can see that she is perching on a wheel with the wings and she is moving ahead. This movement of this fairy tale and the female figurine highlights the movement of the time, and we are proceeding with the new world, and we are proceeding and moving to the new world and the new century. Behind her you can see that we have some different pictures, different machineries, and different tools are highlighted. We have modern economy, you can see the train, cameras, reels, and photo machines, different textile machines, and the other different machines that are used by the industrial people. This is the time. You can see that there are different flights of mode. She is moving towards the new era. She is taking the entire world to the new world and to the new era, towards the new century. And behind her, the tools and the machineries that is highlighted, that is shown the development of nations, and these all symbolizes that the world is floating out and floating in the world of new century. We have a different signs at the back. We have a railway, camera, machines, printing press, and the other small machineries that would be used in different factories or karkhanas or the big industries. So that means, see students, this is the picture published by E.T. Paul. He has given this cover page in his music book, and this was almost in the 19th century. So this is the cover page of her music book, where he has highlighted that world would be moving towards the new world, and the country and the rest of the world, this fairy lady, this female figurine or the goddess, figurine of goddess, she is going to take the world to the new era and to the new century, where we are going to have all the development, we are going to have all the things done with the help of machinery, not the manual work, whereas the things and the production would be done with the help of the machineries. Students, on this side you can see that we have two different pictures. Here you can see that we have highlighted here that we have two magicians. Two magicians are there. And these two magicians, they belong to the different directions. When we are talking about the topmost magicians, here you can see that on the topmost picture, you can see that on this slide, you can see this side, he is none other than the Aladdin. I hope students, you have already studied about the different tales of Aladdin. And you know that Aladdin, he belongs to the East, he belongs to the Asia. He is from Orient. Orient are the countries that are of Asia and the countries of the East of the Mediterranean. And we know that this Aladdin, he is a magician, and he, with his magical stick, what he can do is he can create the new world, he can bring the palace, he can do anything with his magical stick. But do you really feel that as Aladdin can bring anything with his magic stick? Is it a reality? And he is highlighting and he is symbolizing to the East. And here you can see that this picture is highlighted here. He is the another magician, and you can see that you can say that he is a mechanic. And what type of mechanic? He is a modern mechanic who, with his model tools, you can see that he is holding the modern tools in his hand, and with the help of those tools, he can weave the new world. He can create the new world. You can see that we have huge ships are here, big machineries, bridges, towers, and he can create the new world with the tools and scientific implements and the modern tools. With these modern tools, you can see that he has a high-rising building, and the different tall towers are highlighted and being shown here. That is going to symbolize the modernity. He is going to bring the modernity in the country. So student, he is from the west, Aladdin is from the east. East is a symbol of past. East is a symbol of past, so Aladdin is symbolizing the eastern countries of the Mediterranean, the countries in the Mediterranean Sea, or towards the, or you can call it the Asian countries, where you can see that this modern mechanic, he is highlighting. You can see that he is wearing a complete gown from top to bottom, like all different mechanics they used to wear, and he is holding the tools, machineries, and with the help of the new tools and modern tools, he wanted to create, he wanted to weave the new world where all the modernity would be there, all sophisticated equipments would be there, and the life would become more easy with the modern tools and the implements. So we can see that the picture says Chicago, and that means it is the western countries. And here you can see that he is symbolizing, Aladdin is symbolizing the eastern countries, and east countries means the past and the western countries means the modernity. So eastern countries, they wanted to symbolize the eastern countries, the Asian countries, they are not as modern, they are not as scientific as the western countries. So they wanted to make the comparison between the different countries, that the these old countries, Asian countries or the other Mediterranean countries, they are not as developed as the Western countries. So Orient is nothing but the countries to the east of the Mediterranean, east of the Mediterranean Sea. All these countries are the Asian countries. They are not as developed as the Western countries. So Western countries are more developed as compared to the Eastern countries. So this is a symbolic thing that has been highlighted here with the help of two pictures. And we know that these images, an association of these images is nothing but the imagination. It was the imagination. The printers, the painters who have painted this, they have done an imaginary images by symbolizing it. But how these imagination has turned into a reality and turned into the truth, that we are really having such world where we have the big towers and the things are done with the help of machines, big tools are there, and almost all the work of the country or the society or the production procedure is done with the help of big machineries. That was just an imagination. How this imagination is proved and how they have really created such images, and why these images are created, just to show that a time would come when we are going to have more of the industrialization and rapid technological changes and development, and this is going to glorify the mechanization of all the work. So students, in this chapter we are going to study about how more mechanism is taking place and how the modernity is there in different countries. See, modernity came in the Western countries and then it has been copied and it has been transmitted in the Eastern countries also. So modernity, the second symbol, the second magic has highlighted, second magician has highlighted that the Western countries are more advanced as compared to the Eastern countries. So students, here we are going to study now that how in the 17th and 18th century, merchants from the towns in Europe, they have started moving towards the countryside. How they have started moving and how they have started the development and how they wanted to make the higher production, they wanted to increase the production, what all efforts these people have done, merchants, traders, peasants and farmers, how they had increased the production, what all measures they have taken, what all steps are taken, so that we can meet the requirement as well as the supply for the international market. So students, you can see that different merchants, they started moving towards the countryside. They started moving towards the countryside. What happened? Why they have started moving towards the countryside? Why they cannot do the business in the towns and cities? Why they cannot make the production? Why they cannot grow? Why they cannot cultivate whatever raw material is required for their production or for making the finished goods? Why they cannot produce in the towns? There is a reason behind. There is a great reason behind, because the supplying these European people, they have started moving towards the countryside, and we have seen that the people during that time, the population of the countries was also increasing day by day, and when the population was increasing day by day, the demand of the people, that was also increasing, requirements were also was also increasing, different food grains, different other material for the survival, because the population was increasing, their demand was also increasing. So there is a need to supply more of the material and more of the other goods, food grains, and the other material is required to meet the needs of the population, growing population. So students, we have seen that the merchants, they have started moving towards the countryside. And what they have done, they have started supplying money to the peasants and farmers and artisans at the countryside. Countryside, when you move out of the country, when you move out of the city, so that is a countryside. So they have started supplying money, they have started giving money in advance to the peasants, to the farmers, or to the artisans. Why they have started? And they started persuading to those people. They wanted to persuade, they wanted to convince those people, to peasants and farmers or the other artisans. They started convincing to them that please, you can grow for us, okay? Because why they have started persuading to them? Because they wanted the production, because the production was they cannot make in the towns and cities. What is the reason that they cannot make the production in the towns and cities? See students, during that time there was a great expansion of the world trade. World trade was increasing day by day. As the movement of the people was there, different people, they have started migrating and moving to different countries. Population was also increasing. Different requirements were also increasing day by day. So they wanted that more of the supply is required, and the world trade was expanding. World trade was expanding day by day. So to meet that requirement, as well as to meet the needs of the population and of different cottagers who were producing the different things, they also wanted more of the raw material. More raw material was required, and the merchants, they could not produce much in the cities. During that time, they cannot produce much in the cities because the cities are not having much of the agricultural land, and much of the fallow land is not available to them, and the cities were very compact. So they wanted that, and they have decided that they are going to move towards the countryside. See students, during that particular time, we have seen that how the production and how the merchants were producing it. They wanted to produce it. Why they are increasing? You can see that before the Industrial Revolution, there was a period when large scale industrial production was made, okay, and workers not producing for themselves but for an international market. They were producing for the international market, and it was not based on factories, it was based on the scattered units. And large scale production was made in the household, or in the small area, or in the scattered units. The production was made for the international market, and much of the goods were made only at home. Big tools and machineries were not there. So that was, you can see that proto-industrialization. What is proto-industrialization? That we'll see a bit later. 1 minute later we can see that. Okay, before that you can see that who were the guilds. You can see students, during that time that they could not produce much within the towns. What is the reason? That they cannot start up their business in the towns and cities. Why they are migrating towards the countryside or towards the rural area side? See students, they can start up, these merchants, they had money, they can easily invest it, but they cannot do the business in the towns and cities. There is a great reason behind it. What is the reason behind the guilds? Guild was the most important factor and the restraint for them that they cannot start up their business in the cities and towns. Why? Because the craftsmen in the towns and cities, or the trade guilds means organization, trade guilds were very powerful during that time. And these guilds, they have their own associations. They have their own association of producers. All the producers, they have their own committee, they have their complete group, or they have a complete organization, and they used to decide everything related to the production, what all they are going to produce, how it would be regulated, what would be their prices, at what prices they are going to sell. All these things are decided by the guilds and this association. So it is the association. Guilds is nothing but the association of producers. Guilds are the association of producers that are trained craftspeople. They are craft people, and they are already running a business in the cities and towns. And they don't want that somebody new person, new trader or new merchant should come and join them. Because they wanted the monopoly over it. So what they do is, what these guilds they used to do is, they used to maintain control over the production. They used to do the control over the entire production. Whatever is produced by these 5, 7, 10, 20 members, or the guilds, or these merchants and traders who are running a business from a very earlier time. Newcomers are not allowed. New entries was not allowed during that time. So all these old people, old merchants, they were taking care of all these things. And what they were doing, they were regulating the entire competition. They don't want that any other new competitor should enter into their market. So they were regulating the competition. And the prices were also regulated by them. What prices, at what price we are going to sell, at what prices we are going to buy, and we are going to sell. Everything was decided and regulated and controlled by the guilds. And you can see that there was a restriction on the entry of the new people into the trade. Any newcomer, if he wants to come and if he wants to start up his own business, he cannot come and easily cannot enter. The entry was not given to them. Anybody whosoever has the money and he decides, okay, let me start a new business and I can start and I can earn a livelihood. No, he cannot do of his own, and moreover the permission was also not given. So the new traders and merchants, they are not allowed within the town and cities. They used to go outside the country, outside the city, means outside countryside means they have to go to outside the city, and wherever the rural areas there, in that area he or she can do the business. And you can see that why these people, these guilds are so strong. Why they cannot allow the entry of the newcomer? There is a reason behind it, because the rulers of those days time, the rulers have given them that permission that they have the monopoly over the specific trade or specific product. Otherwise, other than that person, nobody else can sell that product. If a person is selling a textile, and if I have got a right to do the business and trading business with the goods, clothes, then nobody else is going to do the buying and selling of the clothes. That cloth would be done, selling of the clothes, manufacturing and selling and buying would be done only by one person. That is monopoly over a trade, over a specific trade and over a specific product. Nobody else is going to do that. If somebody wanted to do the sugar, okay, he will be dealing with the sugar only. Nobody else is going to enter into the sugar business or sugar trade. Somebody else is doing in the oil, somebody doing a medicine, somebody is doing a tobacco. So every person, different people during old days time, they had their own association and guild. Other than those people, there is no second competitor. So much of the competition, they don't want that the competition should be there. They have regulated the competition, they have controlled the competition, because there is no other competitor. If any other new competitor would come, then there would be a discussion is required. Then my monopoly right is not existing. Okay, I need to discuss, we need to talk, and he can sell it at a lower price also. Then my product will not be sold. So to avoid all these kind of confusion and problem and conflicts, the guilds, they don't allow the newcomers to enter into the market. And they were so strong because the rulers have granted these different guilds the monopoly right to produce and trade in the specific areas. So students, we have seen that what is the reason that the new trader and merchant, they have started moving towards the countryside. They wanted to do the business in the towns and cities only, but the entry was not allowed. When entry will not be there, definitely they are bound to go. They are forced to go and do the business and get the raw material from outside and from the countryside. So student, we have the another important topic here, that is, what is proto-industrialization? What is proto-industrialization? When we talk about the proto-industrialization, students, you can see that even before factories, when factories were not there, industries were not there, and factories began to set up prior to that in England. You can see prior to that in England and Europe, there was a large scale industrial production for an international market. I have already told you that when industries, big industries and factories were not there, but the production was made. And this production was not only for self-consumption, it is for the international market, to sell it out in the other countries and to send it to the other countries. So when the production is made for an international market, this was not based on the factories. This system, which was not based on the factories, but the production was made in the scattered units, okay, and in the small houses or at the households or small karkhanas or small manufacturing units were there, where the production is made for the international market, but it was not based on the factories. Big factories were not there that particular time. This was not based on factories, rather than this was based on cottage industries. Cottage, we do it in the different houses and household production. Cottage industry. This period when we are not having factories, we are not having the big industries, but the production was made. But the production was made to meet the needs of the international market. That period, that time is known as proto-industrialization. And this terminology, proto-industrialization, is given by the historians. This terminology or this term or this name is given by the historians when the production was done, but not in the factories, because factories were not there, and it was done in the different cottage industries, some small household industries. See, people, they used to manufacture inside their home only. they are not making any other building where they have need to manufacture. Inside the home only there was a small area, or in the or at the courtyard, wherever the big house is there, open courtyard is there, they used to manufacture the different goods there. They used to make and design different tools and things. And that particular period, where when the production was made, that period is highlighted as proto-industrialization, So students, I have already seen and we have already discussed that how these new merchants and traders, they have started giving advances to the people, they have started giving money to the people in advance, and they started persuading to them, convincing to them that please start growing for us. They went there to the countryside and they have talked to different traders and for farmers and peasants and different artisans like carpenters and all, who used to do all kind of wooden work, artisans and designs and sculptures and other things. They started talking to those artisans and they started persuading to them ki will you please grow for us. See, during that time, now we need to understand what was the condition at the countryside. We have already seen what was the why these traders and merchants, they are not doing the business in the towns and cities, why they have moved toward area, because the trade guilds and the association of the producers, they didn't allow them to produce and do a business in that area. So what we have seen that during that particular time, the peasants and the farmers, their condition was also not very good. Why? Because during that time, the people have started enclosing the different areas. Much of the production was not there, and they were just growing for their own consumption. And during that time, students, you have already studied in class 9, plantation work was also going on, slave trade was also going on, and people, they wanted that they should get a work here only, otherwise they need to go to earn their livelihood, they need to go to the other countries and they need to leave their families also. So this was the time when the pasture lands and the open areas were enclosed by the people. People have started enclosing it. The people have started growing in that part of area, the pasture lands. So we have seen that these people, with the expansion of the trade, and due to the acquisition of the colonies, you can see that different colonies were there, different colonization was there. British has also colonized India, and India was the colony for the Britishers. In class 9th, we have studied about how the Java in Indonesia was there. They were also colonized by the Dutch, and they have stopped the ban on the shifting cultivation. So that was the acquisition. They have acquired those colonies and they have started ruling over it. So that means we had the different colonial government was there during that time, and these colonial government, they wanted that more of the plantation work should be there, and different common area was enclosed by the open fields. The open fields were disappearing. Why they were disappearing? Because they were enclosed by the traders and the farmers and the big planters. So the poor people and the cottager were dependent on the common land. Whatever common land was available, so to get the wood, to get the firewood, to get the fruits or the other things, these people, they were depending on them, and they used to go to the forest and they used to collect from that area woods and firewoods for burning and for cooking and for the other things. They used to get it. All kind of fruits and roots and hay and straw for making their huts and houses, and the bamboo or the stick or the wood, they used to get it from the open area, the field where pasture areas are there, or the small the forest area was there. From there they used to do it. But now the people have started enclosing those areas and they started doing the cultivation in those areas. So the life of the people during that time was also very poor. Their condition was also not very good because they were not having any source of income. When they are not having any source of income, they are supposed to go and earn for their families, and there was no other work available because industries were not there, any construction work was also not going on. So only work was available to them was either the cultivation or they have to go for the plantation. Cultivation or the plantation. But for the cultivation also they were consuming for themselves. No cash crop was grown by them. So they were living in a very poor condition. They are living a very pathetic life, and their economical background and financial background was extremely poor, and everybody was forced to go to earn their livelihood for the plantation. And for to going in the plantation, what they need to do is they need to leave their family, they need to leave their city, they need to leave their village, and they have to go to the countryside. In the other country, in a foreign country, they need to go other country, they need to migrate through the sailing through the ships, and then they will be going and working in the plantation. And working in the plantation means to 5 to 10 years they cannot come back and they cannot meet their family. So their condition was really not very good because they are really not eager to go for plantation. And whatever land that was available to them, that was also very small land holdings. Very small land holdings were there. And on that small land holdings, they were just cultivating for themselves and growing for their self-consumption, and rest what else they can grow it. So that was also not sufficient for them to earn their livelihood. So somehow they were living their life, and they wanted that their life should be improved and they should get some employment opportunities. See students, this is the condition of the farmers, peasants, or the other artisans who are living at the countryside. And this is the time when they were suffering with all these problems. At that time, these new traders who didn't start their business, who didn't get permission to start up their business in the towns and cities, these merchants and traders, they migrated and they have moved towards the countryside. And when they have started asking to these farmers and peasants that you grow for us cash crops or different crops you can grow for us, so this was the golden opportunity for them. And moreover, these merchants who came to the countryside, they have provided advances to them, they have provided advance money to them, that with the help of these things you can buy the other raw materials and you can start cultivation. You start the cultivation in your small land holdings. It may be 2 hectares or it may be 4 hectares. So you can grow for us. If one trader can ask 20 farmers like this, he can get the production. And moreover, simultaneously farmers and traders would be benefited because they don't wanted to leave their country. So it was the golden opportunity for the traders, for the farmers and peasants, that they have very easily accepted the proposal of the traders and merchants, and they said, okay, there is no problem, we will grow for you, and this is the whatever production that you wanted to grow cotton, will grow cotton for you. And this was the time that traders were also happy because they were in need. They didn't put much labor or hard work in convincing them, because they easily agreed for producing for the traders. And you can see that the demand for goods began growing because of the trade. International trade was there and more colonies and more production was going on. But merchants could not expand production within towns. Much area was not there, so they cannot cultivate. So they are bound to move. This was because here urban crafts and trade guilds were powerful. It was very difficult for new merchants to set up their business in towns. So they turned towards the countryside. So they have moved towards the countryside. Artisans to the countryside. See, I have already told you that how the artisans, farmers and traders at the countryside were willing to work for the merchants. They were ready to work because most important thing that they were living a very poor condition. The condition was not good and they don't wanted to walk out for the in the plantation areas. And moreover, the traders and merchants, they have provided advances to them. They have provided advance money to them. Open fields and commons were disappearing. So for getting the basic things, wood, firewood and the other thing, they need to depend on the forest, and that forest area or the open fields or the pasture areas were also disappearing. So the life of these artisans was getting worse day by day. So at this time, open fields and commons were disappearing. Cottagers and the poor peasants had to now look for alternative sources of income. Earlier they used to get all important things from the nearby forest or the area and open fields. They used to get it, but now they are in a worse situation and they were looking alternative jobs. They are looking for the alternative jobs and to get the source of income. When merchants offered advances, peasants' household eagerly agreed. They have easily accepted the proposals that was given by the traders, merchants. This income supplemented their shrinking income from cultivation. This income or the advances, the money that is provided by the merchant, this is really helpful for them to survive their life and start up their life again, because their income was reducing day by day because open field area was not there. Firewood also they need to buy now and the other basic things also, and for survival also they need, and they were not having other source of income. So this was the golden opportunity. So they were easily agreed for the on the proposals and the demands of for producing for the merchants. So this income supplemented fuller use of their family labor resources, and moreover they got the employment also by sitting at home and without moving out, without searching the job, without going for the plantation, and because they were not willing to go out, and by sitting at home the work opportunity came in their hand and in front of them, because merchant themselves has moved to the countryside. So students, you can see that different things, and why these people, they what all work they need to do is, what relationship they have, what all different work they are going to do it, that we are going to see now. See students, we have seen that the people of the countryside, they were really not, their life was really not very good. Their income was shrinking day by day. Shrinking means reducing day by day. And they really need some support by somebody. And they really don't wanted to leave their own countries. So we have seen students that merchants were based in towns. A merchant clothier in England purchased wool from a wool stapler and carried it to the spinner. This we are going to see one by one. See students, every member of the family, every member of the farmers' families or artisans' family, they started working. All the members were involved in the production because they have to supply the material in time. And there was a fixed bound time was given to them that this supply, this month, this whatever production that you are going to make, you are going to give it to me only, okay? And the price was also settled by the merchant and the artisans and merchants, weavers and spinners, all those people living at the countryside. They have made a deal between the merchant and the artisans that I am going to cultivate cotton. We are going to cultivate for you, fine, and I am going to sell this cotton at this price. No, not at this price. Okay, they have reduced. They have done a bargaining was done, and after doing a bargaining, there was price was settled between the artisan, the one who has the land, the one who have taken the advances, and with the merchant who have provided the money to them, who has convinced them to grow for themselves. So they have done a deal between it. Now see student, when they have done a deal, I as an artisan, because I have taken money from that trader or from a merchant, now I cannot change myself. Whatever I am going to produce, as much as I am going to produce on my field, I have to give that entire production at that fixed price that we people have settled. At that price, we are going to give it to the merchant. Right? Okay. This is how the merchants, they have collected all the raw material. See, he has the merchant, one merchant, he has persuaded so many artisans to grow for him. So there are around 20, 25 or 30 artisans are there who are working for one merchant, because he need more of the production, more of the raw material is required, because everybody has a small land holdings, and on that small land holdings, that will not be sufficient for him. So second farmer, artisan, third artisan, fourth artisan, they have started convincing them. All the farmers are convinced, all the artisans are convinced to produce and manufacture the raw material for the merchant. And to every artisan, the merchant has provided the advances. He has already given the money to them in advance without taking any delivery or without taking any product, so that they can be easily convinced to produce for the merchant. So see students, now every member of the family was involved, because they have to make as much as production. If more production would be there, the artisan's family would be benefited. So students, we can see that one merchant may be getting the raw material. For one merchant, maybe 20 to 25 artisans are there who are making the production. So you can see that a merchant clothier in England has purchased a wool. Okay, he has purchased a wool from a wool stapler. Okay, there is a person who staples the food, wool stapler, segregating the different cotton and wool. Okay, and stapler, when this cotton is segregated into the quality, we have segregated. Stapler is the one who segregates. In your book you can see that there is a blue box given there where all the definitions are given there. Okay, who is a stapler, who is a spinner, and who is a fuller, that is given there. So what the stapler is going to do is he is going to staple the entire cotton, okay, and that will be given to the spinner. Okay, that cotton will be, after a stapler, the second level is this cotton would be given to the spinner. Okay. Now what the spinner is going to do? He is going to spin it into a yarn. He is going to make a thread. He is going to make a yarn. Okay. Now stapler, after a stapler, it will, see, farmer has produced the cotton. Now cotton has reached to the stapler. Stapler has done the segregation, removing. You must have seen that there is a cotton ball and they used to seeds and covering that they used to remove it, and then they can they segregate it. Okay, and then stapler, it comes to the spinner. Spinner is going to make the yarn. He is going to make the thread. Okay, when it is given to the spinner, this will give it to the weaver. Now thread is ready. Now who is going to weave the cloth? Weaver. Weaver is going to do it. Okay, then the trader, merchant, he is going to give that complete thread to the weaver. Okay, now weaver will going to make the cloth. He is going to spin the cloth. Okay, weaving the cloth would be done, and after the weaver, the cloth would be done. It would be given to the fuller. Okay, and the one who is going to do the folding. Fuller, the one who is going to fold the entire cloth. Okay, folding is done. When this is done, and then this would be given to the dyer for dyeing. You know, for dyeing, cloth is dyed with the different colors. Okay, so it is given to the dyer. Fine. Now you can see the step, students. It is given, farmer has given to the stapler, and you can see it is given weaver, fuller, then dyer. It is given here. Okay, then it is farmer will give it to the stapler. Stapler will give it to the spinner, and spinner, and the further step we have, it is will give it to the weaver. Weaver will give it to the fuller. Okay, and when it will be given to the fuller, it will go to the dyer, and after dyeing the cloth is ready now. Okay, then it reaches for packaging. It reaches to the finishing center, that is London. So finishing center, where packaging is done and labeling is done, made in China, made in Japan, made in America, made in England, that labeling would be done. Okay, and packing of the cloth, and then it will be exported or to the traders and merchants or clothier, it would be given to them. So students, step by step the work is done by different people, and the way, and then ultimately the production is ready by the finished product and finishing center. You can see that the finishing center is in London. So London is the finishing center for the clothing. London was the finishing center that was at the clothing, and before the export, merchant sold the cloth in the international market. After packaging, then till the finishing center it is there, then it is later on, then it is exported to the other parts of the country. So students, you have already seen that how the cloth is made ready at different units. One person is not doing it. There are so many communities are involved. There are so many people, hundreds of people are involved into it. You can see that farmer has produced. Okay, farmer had produced the cotton, and the clothier has taken the wool. Clothier has taken a wool, and then it was that wool. It is given to the stapler, stapling it, segregating it. Then it is given to the spinner. Spinner is going to make the yarn thread. He is going to make a small thread from which cloth would be made. And then spinner, then merchant has collected it from the spinner. Then again he has applied it to the weaver. Okay, and weaver is going to make the cloth. He is going to spin the cloth. He is going to make the cloth ready. After After that it goes to a fuller, where entire bundling and making the bundles of the cloth would be done, fuller. And then after fuller it is sent to the dyer. He is going to color the cloth. Coloring of the cloth is done, okay, and after coloring and from drying it, and then it reaches to the finishing center for packaging. It packed, okay, and then it is exported. So London is the finishing center for the international market. In the England and Europe, London was known to be a finishing center. So students, we have seen that proto-industrialization system was the part of the network of commercial exchange. You can see step by step how the different clothes are made, born, and then it will go to the stapler, then to the weaver, then this different process in different units it is done, and it is very time consuming. It was very time consuming, and it was controlled by merchant. And because merchant has provided the money, he is really very worried about when he is going to get the weaver. From weaver he is going to get the cloth, then he will give it to the dyer. After dyeing he will give it to the another person, then from there he is going to collect it, and then he will give it to somebody else. So that means to meet the international market product, the merchant has to has to work hard to get the production made from different units. And these family units or family farms, they are not factories. They are doing all this production in their home only. So we have seen that at each stage, at every stage, if you see, more than 20-25 workers are there dealing with them, and one merchant who has provided the money, he has given the money to the weaver also, he has given money to the spinner also, he has given money to the dyer also. So you can see that for one merchant there are around 20-25 at one stage person are working. So there are hundreds of workers working for the one merchant. So this is how all together the production is made at the countryside, and due to the merchant, the other people also got the employment, because at that time they were really in need and their income was shrinking, and they have really readily accepted the work provided by the offer provided by the merchant. So this is how the production was made during that time. So students, up to this you can say this is an assignment. Till then, thank you so much.